Yes, we inside. Welcome, each and every one. Everything's cool. Now it's time for a little taste of the passion.
Mhm.
Welcome, each and every one, to Ban All Card Players Only. My name is Noel La Pierre in the house. Welcome. From that very first night, we welcome in the set today for season two. We enter with Mr. Lawford Dupres, a personal friend of mine. Welcome, Lawford.
Okay, Noel, welcome.
Yeah, man. Nice to have you here on Players Only. I know
All
you're
right.
a veteran. I know you're a veteran in the art form, so I'm quite excited to hear your story. All right.
Mm-hmm.
So, people, this is season two. All right. We back on. We had a little 5 weeks, 6 weeks vacation. I know you all were expecting me last week, but due to some technical difficulties, right, we wasn't up and ready to produce yet. So I welcome Mr. Lawford Dupres, all right, again in the set.
All right.
So
So,
Lawford,
yeah.
let's hear your story, my brother. Welcome and tell me where did where did this passion started?
Well, that's a good question. I think my first contact with I wouldn't call it a pan, but it was a tin. It was back during the war, probably 1944 or something like that. I was 7 years old, and my father had a old drum in the backyard there, and in the evening, the young boys and some older boys would get together and we'd make a racket in the back, beating iron and making noise against the drum, some rhythm. And then the guy living next door to me was a fellow by the name of Irwin Merritt. He eventually became a counselor, I believe. This is at the corner of Arpit Avenue and French Street, the second house from the southeast corner. And he obtained a tin can with three notes in it, and we was able to play. Maybe had a little lamb on the three notes. And surprisingly, that attracted a lot of people passing by the gate would stop and hear this bam, 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 to hear it and the rhythm and so on. And they would stop by the gate and they open the gate and come inside. Yeah. So in the evening, sometimes you have maybe 15, 20 people in the yard just listening to the rhythm and the tune. My mother decided that that wasn't working out. Her exact words, as I remember them, was that there were too many robust men coming in the yard. Because I was 7 years old, my brother was 8. So she kind of put a stop to that. And then Mr. Merritt Owen, he went. There was another steelman on Buller Street, and they had some pan. When I say pans, they had kettle drums. These were drums divided into two notes or maybe three notes. You could just beat out a little simple sharpness on it. And he borrowed some of these drums from these guys and stored it under our yard, under the house. Of course, he neglected to give them back. So they came and they raided the yard one day and they took all the drums. And of course, my mother was alarmed by this whole thing. So she said, well, they had to stop that. So that was the start and end of my T-band career. But during that period, and I think it was VJ Day. VJ Day was when the Japanese were defeated. Owen by that time had acquired a 13 note pan, not a full oil drum, it only had 13 notes in it. I think he got it from somebody in Advadas. And I tied a string around it, through it, and I had one stick in my hand. And I was parading up and down Arpit Avenue there between Gattaca Street and French Street, playing Shiny Nevada, BJ Day, or some stupidness like that. And it was such a novelty at the time. People stop and look and see what I was doing and so on. Again, my mother was looking out for me. She see me up the road there. She'd come and grab me and put me back in the yard. So that was that. That was the end of my Steelman career at that age. So The next time I got us close, we moved from Port of Spain. We went to live in San Juan and Mont Lambert and so on. And then we finally moved back to Port of Spain in I think it was 1952. I must have been about 15 years at the time. And the year before that, the daughter of my godmother, she got a tenor pan from Dixieland, basic tenor pan. He gave it to Steve and myself, my brother, my older brother. And we fooled around with that, playing tunes on it and whatever we could do. And then when we moved to Port of Spain, we joined Dixie Stars. I can't remember exactly how we got into Dixie Stars, but we got into there. And the band used to practice was located at the corner of Kitchener Street and Gattaca Street in the backyard of Mr. Aloy Pantin. I suspect that the reason that my father didn't object too much to that is because he and old man Pantin, they were soldiers in the First World War, so they knew each other. So he might have felt a sense of comfort that we weren't going to get into too much trouble. But after school, we'd go down there and we practiced with the band and so on and so on. And that lasted until 1954, when Dixie Stars became the first steel band to go to Canada to play at the Canadian National Exhibition in Toronto.
Lovely, lovely.
Now, Steve, my brother, he went up with them. And I stayed behind. I was still in St. Mary's at the time. And then when they came back, the captain at the time was Rudolph Commission, Penny Commission's uncle. He took the band up to Bermuda. He took half of the band up to Bermuda. Most of the good players went. And I was left behind, still going to school as the only member, youngest person in the band. I couldn't go. I got school. But ESO in 1955 decided they took the side, they decided went up in 1954. They took them back up in 1955 to make a tour of Canada, starting in Montreal and going all the way to the West Coast of Vancouver. But they wanted another steel band to come up to play the National Exhibition, Canadian National Exhibition in Toronto. They asked me if I could get a band together. Well, you only have to imagine, I am 15 years old, 16 years old at the time, go to school. And they asked me if I get a band together. So I couldn't. I didn't know. In them days, you couldn't just go into a panyard and say, hey, you want to go. So they contacted a band, a woodwork band called Tropitones, which at the time was led by Jose Figueroa, who was a previous captain of Dixie Stars. He had moved to Tropitones at the time. And he asked them if they would want to go to Canada. And the condition was that I would go with them. So fortunately for me, that Fonzo Moscow, who was one of the lead tenors at the time, nobody knew about Fonzo. Fonzo was a master tenor player at the time. He was about to get married. He was engaged. So he decided he wasn't going to know Canada and leave his fiancée behind. He didn't want to risk that. So he dropped out and I took his place. So we went up there with three tenors. Georgie Ningwai, you probably know Georgie Ningwai.
Yes.
The father of Joey. Rene Figueroa, who was a great tenor man also, and myself, three tenors. Carl Cabral was playing second, and Nazi Conta, who was a tuner. If you never know about him. He was Dixieland's tuner also, but he went up with us as a second band. Selwyn Gomes, who made a name for himself in Canada and was again a good, them basically call it tune boom, but a cello player. And Jose was on the bass. And then we had two dancers that went up. So that side went up to Canada in 1955.
So Lawford, Mr. Ning, wait, I now know history here now. Ning, why you used to play pan?
Georgie, yeah. Georgie was a good pan man.
Because I know his son. I performed with his son, right?
Yeah.
And I know his father had a band.
Georgie, yeah,
but I didn't know he was involved in pan.
Yeah. Georgie was versatile. Georgie could play tenor, second pan, cello. He was very versatile and quick learner, you know. So he was there. A lot of fellas play pan, but they just drop out of it. I'm the only one that kind of stuck with it all these years, you know. So
Right.
anyway, to move on from that, while we were there, of course, the other part of Dixie Stars, the major part of it, they were touring from Montreal coming across to Vancouver, and my brother Steve was with them. So what happened then? I came back. I came back. The band that was coming from Vancouver, they came. Some of them came back to Trinidad by boat. And when they reached Aruba, some of them asked, including my brother, whether they could stay on the boat. The boat was picking up fuel in Aruba to go up to England. They asked the captain if they could stay on the boat. So some stayed, and some came back by plane from Aruba to Trinidad. And those that went up to England stayed there. Steve was there. He was there with a guy we used to call Wakyang. His name was George Nutt, K-N-U-T-T, half Chinese guy. Wakyang, miserable fella, like to fight all the time. I don't know. I don't know who Steve and him got along that long. They always used to want to square up. Every time they take two drinks, they want to fight each other. So
But
anyway,
like Chinese and Stillman like to fight. Because
oh
I
boy,
didn't know that Chinese mixed fella he like to fight.
oh boy. So anyway, they went there and they stayed there a couple of years. In the meantime, I tried to keep the band, the Torpedoes band going, and we played at a couple of places. But eventually, Selwyn Gomes went back to Canada, I think in 1957. And and then my brother Steve came back around 1957. Now, during that period, people are probably don't know, Dixieland, which had flourished in the early 50s, had shut down by then, right? Dixie Stars was formed out of a breakaway site from Dixieland. So Curtis Pear, who was well known as the captain of Dixieland, or the previous captain of Dixieland, if you remember, he went to Bermuda to work. Not the Bermuda, sorry, the Bahamas. And when he came back in 1957, Georgie, Ningwai, Steve, myself, went to meet him in Belmont. We found out he was living in Belmont. By that time, Torpedoes had disbanded. I had some of the pans in my mother's backyard there. And we asked him to reform Dixieland, which he did. And that was then when Dixieland started doing well and performing and became one of the more popular bands in the 57, 58, 59 period. Okay, we used to play out every weekend. Now, with Dixieland money, I was able to save all my salary. I was working at BB at the time as a training engineer. And I lived up Dixieland money as the rest of the band did. We were busy. Um, and the money I saved from that is what enabled me to go to university. I was able to pay my first year's fees and expenses with money I saved because I was playing with Dixieland at the time. During that period, Dixieland was hired as a cruise ship. I think it was 1958. 58? No, it was 1957. Christmas. We played on the what the cruise ship name was the Opinion. It was making a Caribbean cruise. Picked us up in Port of Spain and went to Venezuela and Jamaica and Miami and Dominican Republic, all over the place. So we played on that. When we were leaving Miami, we were supposed to go to Cuba at Christmas time, just New Year's time. And that's when Fidel Castro broke into Havana at that particular time. So the ship couldn't go there. It went to the Dominican Republic instead. Anyway, after that tour, that was in 1959 when we came back. Then I started practicing for the festival. Remember? And they won all the preliminaries or whatever it is like that. I left the band in late August to go to university. So I started practicing with them for the festival, but I didn't finish it. I went away. So that is as far as my involvement with Dixieland was concerned. Steve, in the meantime, he had gone up to Bermuda on the invitation of Rudy Commission. I think he went there in 1960, early 1960. And he stayed there for 40 something years.
You come to Steve just now, you know. You
Right,
come to Steve just
all right. So that was my when I came back to Trinidad in 1975. Well, in Canada, um, when I got to Vancouver, there was a small side there. They had some pans, but they had no tenement. So I became the tenement of the Moonlighter Steel Band, which was the first steel band to operate in Vancouver, 1959 to 19. They kept playing after I left because I got transferred from my job in 1968 to go to Toronto, but they kept on playing. But I was the only tenor man available, and we played, and we helped me with my university expenses. I never had to ask my parents for money. I supported myself, eating pan every weekend. I still have my union card. I probably was one of the few people that joined a musicians union because we had to join the union to get work. Otherwise, they come and intimidate you and shut you down and all this
oh
kind of
man,
stuff.
plenty of you guys up there.
Yeah, yeah. So I
Nah,
still have my
man.
union. I still have my union card.
Lawford,
Yeah,
yeah, the
yes,
union card. It's a real man still had a union card from back in your time, you know.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I don't
It
know,
have
but then,
plenty. I hear the story. I hear the story
yeah,
from
the
plenty
old
who went
old
to
fellas.
school.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, plenty of you guys pay your tuition by playing pan. Tuition by
Right,
playing
right,
pan.
right. So that is that. So from there, when I left, when I got, I graduated from the university there in the Green Chemical Engineering. I worked with ESSO, Imperial Oil ESSO, and I left Vancouver in 1968. Came across to Toronto on a transfer, and then I met up with Patrick Arnold, who was
Okay.
captain of Steltones at the time. Now, Steltones was a university band. I think it was started by St. Louis boys and the Keenists, and but they had all gone on that graduated and moved out. So Patrick was still there, and he had a number of boys from our boys in Tobago. Ulwang,
Okay. Okay.
right? You know Ulwang? The
Yes, I know
Sardina
Paul.
boys.
Yes.
Yeah, Paul,
Yes.
Sardina boys, Larry Sardina and his brother.
Uh-huh.
Um, yeah, and a couple other guys. I can't remember their names right now. Thomas Boy, I think his last name was, and a fellow we used to call Bunta. I can't remember his full name too. So we operated then as the only steel band functioning in Toronto in that period between 1968 and 1970, whatever it is, 72, 73. You know, so we played at the first, what do you call the festival, the parade, um, in August in Toronto,
Caribana.
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 Yeah, yeah,
Caribana.
Caribana, exactly. We were playing there.
Caribana.
Caribana, exactly. In them days, you couldn't. They were very strict about drinking on the streets and so on. So
So
you had to.
so Lawford. So you end up
Mm,
meeting my father, did you?
yeah,
So my
but
father meet
true,
you there?
true. Well, and I met him through Steve also, my brother. Yeah. So that is how it is. And then when I came back to
So
Trinidad,
Lawford,
and yeah,
I want to ask you a question. You college
go ahead. Hello.
say,
Sorry, I missed that.
all right, all right.
Yeah.
So now it's like we're getting a delayed process. Hello, yes, we still here online. We're getting a little feedback here. We're getting a little feedback. All right. It's coming delayed. All right. Moving on. We're moving on. So from Canada, you came back to Trinidad. So when you
Mhm.
did you play in Silver Stars? Were you one of those Silver Stars guys with Tony P and them?
I played in Silver Stars for two carnivals. Again, when Dixie Stars had kind of faded out, I went up to Silver Stars with Junior
Like we're
because I went
getting
up.
a little transmission.
You hear me?
Yeah, I'm
Hello.
hearing you. I'm hearing you.
All right. Yeah.
Yes,
So
go
I
on.
went. Yeah. So when that in that kind of interim period when Dixie Stars had basically gone away, I went up to Silver Stars and played with them for a couple of carnivals, but not in the band, not in the state side, only for carnival. I think maybe 56, 57, somewhere around there.
The-
Junior and myself went up to Tranquility together. I know Junior since we were little boys, you know.
Okay, okay,
Yeah.
that's cool. The Pushettes. All right.
Yeah.
So let me talk about Steve.
All right.
Steve.
Well,
Steve did a.
I want to finish off with the Harvard Harps though, because that is my most recent band. You
All
know the
right.
Harvard Harps. You know Harvard Harps.
Yes, I know Harvard Habs. We'll come to Harvard Habs. Harvard Habs has been growing.
All right.
Harvard Habs. Harvard Habs was just a fun band for
Yeah.
retirees or
Right.
dilettante people,
Right. Right.
which
Right.
has converted their time and dedication to beat people in the panorama. You
All right.
understand?
Okay.
Harvard Habs was a band performing for Last Lap, wrong by
All right.
Harvard's Roundabout there, and having fun,
Right.
right, for the last lap. Yes, man.
Right. Okay.
Yes, give you a little taste about Harvard. Tell everybody Harvard have. Tell
Yeah.
us.
Well, again, when I joined them, you're exactly right. It was a Juve band making noise, doing nothing. And then it started to grow in strength, and we got some more fans. The band had several names. They used to call them Harvard, perhaps, because you're never sure if they will come up or not. Call them Outwaders sometimes because it's the old band from Invaders. They got call them all the bands Invaders throat. Call them Outwaders. So, so anyway, we enjoyed it, and eventually we got enough players and we got some good arrangers. Um, Junior arranged for us. This boy,
Douglas Redo.
Redo, my brother Steve arranged some nice tunes for us, some
Dougie.
bomb tunes. Dougie, Steve arranged some bomb tunes, and a few other people like that. Alfonso Mosca arranged a tune for us, and a couple of other people. Relator arranged a tune for us. So we had a big selection of, and then this boy, oh my God, except anyway. So after a while, people say, yeah, they come and arrange, just invite me, I'll come and arrange, right? Boy from South with Cavaliers, what the hell is his name?
That's Steve Achaiba.
Steve,
Steve Achaiba.
yeah, he said, just ask me, man, I'll come and arrange a tune for you, man. So we had plenty of us to arrange a tune. What the strength of the band was is that we used to practice the bomb tune. So it was our A side, which if we could call it A side, playing the bomb tune against B side from the big bands. And we look up a
Yes.
lot of them, as you well know, in bomb competition. We look them up. So we start bragging rights and say we beat phase two.
Right.
The bomb.
Who's
We beat
Harvard
all
Habs? Who's that band? Where that band come from? That's a Juve band? Where that
yeah,
band?
yeah, but and then they started getting ambitious. They said, well, we got to graduate to Panorama. So we got some more fans
Yes.
and rocks and so on, and then we started joining the northern region, small sides, and
Okay.
we didn't do too bad. We made some fifth and sixth and seventh and ninth and so on. But we had to give that up after a while because the young people in the band now, after you play, they drop the pan and they're gone.
Yes.
So about 3 panoramas ago, when we went down to South to play the finals there, when
Uh-huh.
we look around for help to go and unload the pans and load them back in the truck, it was myself, Bunny, and about two other old people, right? Young people gone, they're going to play another band.
God. Mm-hmm.
So we said, well, this is not working out at all. We had to find a different formula for this. So, so then the COVID came down, and so we shut down.
All right.
So
So
it's
people,
yeah.
we have Lawford Dupres here in the house. Lawford Dupres, we hear his story there. It's quite amazing. It have me laughing, It's real nice to hear these stories, and picture yourself being part of that, is amazing. Right? So you are here on Players Only, Pan a la carte, Players Only, with your host, Noel La Pierre, in our season 2. Right? So we're going down the road with Lawford. He's given us a taste of Harvard Hops and their success and everything. So we're moving on.
All right. So you wanted to hear
So
something about
Lawford,
Steve? Yeah. My brother
just now,
Steve.
before you go there,
Yeah.
just now, what do you do professionally? But you retired now, right?
Oh yeah. Well, right now I'm on a number of boards in the private sector. I am the chairman of the Bureau of Standards. Okay. So I have served in many other different capacities. I was the president of Petrotrin during my working career. Chairman of National Petroleum.
Yes.
Things like that. Chairman of Lake Asphalt. So I had a career in the energy sector. So now I am just involved in the private sector, basically. I'm trying to keep my wife happy, doing chores.
I hear you. I hear you. With all them years, you're working with energy. Right?
Yeah.
That is supposed to have some still. You have some to go still, You understand?
Yeah. So I'll be
Right?
83 next week. I'll be
Let me go
83.
with you.
Yeah.
83. God bless it, my brother. God bless it. People, you see when your mind clean, and you can go and sleep when the night come and you had to study who this come and sit down, You show you just look 83 years old. You break once in that night during the barnyard.
Oh
And back
God,
in them
man.
time it was under the tree or rainfall, you walking through puddle of water, all kind of thing. Right? Look how you looking at 83. God bless you, Lawford.
All right,
God
man.
bless you.
Take
Give
care.
thanks. All right. So we ain't going. We gotta talk about Steve. We ain't going, man. Right? We're gonna do a segment here about his brother. He's deceased. Steve Dupres. All right. I met Steve in Bermuda. Right. And yes, he was functioning still with ESSO, right? Because that's one of the big bands is ESSO and Players, Coca-Cola Steel Band. I was with Coca-Cola Steel Band. And Steve used to come down at our apartment and talk. He used to call me aside. He used to build it. He was the first one-man soloist that I could have witnessed building his own tracks. He used to build his own track. He was into jazz music and stuff. And his wife, which is Penny's aunt. Is it Penny's aunt?
That's right. Yeah.
Right. So I met the whole family there, and that was a beautiful experience in my year. Now coming into professionalism, I had somebody like Steve with all this experience and knowledge, right, to help groom him, right? Because I tell people my professionalism did not start in Trinidad, right? My professionalism started in Bermuda. Boom, 6 nights, right? 700 people filling out the venue, right? And you're meeting musicians like Steve, way ahead of Andy and Gabe. To be honest, he was really way ahead of the game. And when he started to break down the formats and started to deal with certain chords to get certain color, he was very fantastic with that. All right. So I want you to tell us more about your brother, all right, as we lift him up in this segment here. This segment right now is just tell us, some of the amazing things. You mentioned some. You went on tours, cruise ship. You lived in England, but give us some more. Give us in detail the man, the real man.
Well, there's a challenge. He, as you say, he really matured as a musician in Bermuda. He was the arranger for the band. He never liked to play the tenor. He could play the tenor, but he never really liked it. He always liked harmony and chords. Always.
Yes, never like solo.
Yeah. No. He always told me, he said anybody could play tenor. He used to tell me. He said, but you have to know how the music is put together. And he taught me to listen to music, because he said when you listen, you only listening to the melody. He said, but you know the melody. Listen to what the bass is doing. Listen to what the drummer is doing. Listen to how the harmony is moving through then you start already understand the music. See, otherwise you could whistle the tune. But you know nothing else about the tune. You could just whistle it. And
So
he was so
correct.
right. So right, And I really enjoy the fact he used to come every carnival and he would come and either arrange for us or one play with Phase 2, remember? Uh,
Yes, yes, yes.
on, when they had the Wednesday sessions after carnival, you go there as a soloist and play and so on. It's a pity he never put out any solo CDs. I have some of his work which he gave to me, but it was never commercialized. He never really thought about making money. It was all about making music. And when he died very suddenly, as you know. You know, he,
Hmm.
um,
Strong man, strong
yeah,
man, strong man,
no
strong
evidence that
man.
he was. Yeah, he just kind of dropped dead like that, just like that. So that was a big loss for the family and his friends, I think. But he was a great pan player. He could really execute, and that's it. I wish I could do a fraction of what he could do. I'm a pan beater. Eh? I'm not a panist. I, I, I beat pan. He plays man. I'm a pan beater. But
Yeah,
you're
man.
you're you're a panist too.
Well, after going, when I went out to Bermuda,
Mm,
well, I got fatigued before I left. Where you going, but where Bermuda is? You going in the triangle, boy? You ain't coming
yeah.
back. You understand? And the most confident person was my grandmother,
Mm-hmm.
right? She went and she went no long time. You still have your atlas. You must have an atlas, right? She went
Okay.
and pulled out the atlas
To show you the dot.
to show me where I'm going. The
Mm-hmm.
little point, one
That's
point
right.
on less dot on the map.
Right.
There you going.
Yep.
I had to put on my glasses and a magnifying glass to see where you're going. You understand? But
Yeah.
go, going there taught me everything about who I am and who I am today presently. Because
Absolutely.
tr-
And it's
trust me,
because.
the level of professionalism there and
Mm-hmm.
discipline to
Mm-hmm.
executing music. And then
Absolutely.
Troy Arming used to bring in
Yep.
artists of Grammy stature, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you had to open the show for them, you're in the dressing room, you're talking, getting information, right? So and plenty things that solo is doing presently, it is because I put
Right.
it into practice here,
Right.
right?
Right. Right.
You
Right.
understand? So they fed off of
Yeah.
it. So it was a really true. It was something that I hold up high as
Mm-hmm.
Bermuda as second home.
Yeah.
All right, and Trinidad and Tobago have musicians, people. Not forget the Yellow Bird and the Jamaica Farewell and thing. You have to play it because plenty of these guys build their family and their homes off of playing this
That's
level
right.
of music. But
But
it's how it's executed is the
that's right.
is the catching, is how you
Yeah.
execute it. So if you play it with a sarcastic story kind of way, it's not gonna
Mm-hmm.
catch or captivate
Yeah.
what people feel in the song. So once you interpret the song, man, you can play it any rhythm. Steve used to have a nice bluesy kind of version of it. Right?
Yeah.
Steve,
But
Steve was
talk about
Steve
talk
was
about
busy.
that. When the SOC band finally broke up,
Mm,
with Commission, he went away. Hugh Bud's brother Carl
yeah.
stayed there and eventually passed away. Rock Johnson went to the States. So the band eventually broke up when the tourist traffic started falling off in Bermuda. So that's when Steve went solo, started playing solo. So he used to tell me, he said people still come and ask him to play Yellow Bird and he say, listen, I tell him I don't know the tune, I never heard it. I ain't playing that again. Well, when he was with the band, he would have to play it because they would go to Rudy and let's hear Yellow Bird or whatever,
Yeah,
Island in the
yeah, yeah.
Sun. So you had to play it, right? But
Mhm.
when he became solo, he used to tell it to her, say, sorry, I've never heard of that. Can't play it.
Oh my God.
I said, well, I used to tell him, I said, well, if they ask you to play, then you will be entertained. Just play, 2 bars or something like that, just to make them. He said, no. I'll never play that
Man,
tune again in my life.
man. The first time I encountered that, when I went there was on Christmas, December, right? So we went on the Christmas cruise for the
Mm-hmm.
off season.
Right.
And we just played a version of Yellow Bird. Real nice and long, Now stop. I see the lady come through, the sliding door open, zip. The old lady with she walking stick.
Mm,
And she coming walking towards the band. Hear me? Why
mm,
this lady coming so close to the band? We pumping,
mm,
you know? So when I put my head to listen to what this she want, could you guys play Yellow Bird? We ain't just play a marathon Yellow Bird yet to avoid this. She want.
Right, I tell you, but it's hard. But that's where I put up with sometimes, Or somebody say, yes, I'll play it at the next round because you don't play that all.
Yeah, but mind you, the tip does be good, eh?
Oh, yeah.
There's always even a good tip. There's always
I can tell you a few stories about the trip we made and the opinion with Curtis. But Curtis, as you know, have his own stories. And when all these passed away, I can only tell a few because of all the respect. But on the New Year's Eve night that we played, we had bought a bottle of rum for the guys, So we had it on a table and then we go and play, we come back, take a drink and so on. But Curtis Spear, bless his soul, he was, how he used the word, interfering. Becoming too friendly with one of the female crew. And the rest of the crew took exception to that. So they wait till we went to play, and then they come and take the drink and the mixers and so on, and they went away with it. So when we came back after the set, we said, wait, now where the drink's gone? When we look around, we realized that somebody must have taken it. So when we finished the whole set, they were going to say, listen, we ain't taking this, so pick up a chair from the deck and throw it overboard. He said,
what the hell is this?
I tell him, he said, don't leave me here, He said, everybody grab a chair and throw it overboard. We throw about 10 chairs overboard. I'm so vexed. So I can admit to that now because that is the 1959. So they can't get rid of it.
Man, and Curtis is not a big fella. Mr. Pierre is a small bone man.
No, but he have a temper,
He have a temper? That nice man?
What? Curtis.
People we talking about the legendary Curtis Pierre. Understand? Well-known musician. May he rest in peace. May he rest. Curtis.
Yeah, but
yeah.
So those were the days.
Those were nice days, man. Those were nice days. So what's the best Panorama song you ever played? You going any Panorama?
Well, there are two songs that have stood out for me all these years. I mean, there's not many. Pan by Storm, that the professor arranged, which in my humble view should have won the Panorama.
Yes, that's one. You are one. Yeah.
And of course, Pan in the Minor is a classic. Was a classic arrangement.
But you take tune that comes second. You like two tunes
that
get beat.
I know. I can't think of what tune that came first that you could go slow from these days. You can't. Nobody's play them.
You understand? A minor was a good. A minor was a good piece of arrangement.
Great arrangement.
But the music was changing. The music was changing.
I know.
Was changing.
Yeah.
Feeling Nice come on the scene.
Feeling Nice. In my house, well, them tunes that they play on the radio, you get more familiar with. You hear the arrangement over and over, woman on the bass, you hear them, so you start to understand the arrangement more. See, when you just hear it Panorama and you don't hear it again, you already don't know the tune.
Because they have plenty white oak in their head, and the Iron Man beating in the back, so and the back canal in the survival.
So I find the arrangements now, they're not as musical like they used to be. I find they're a little too frantic. It seems like more speed. I mean, I hear Silver Stars put on a tune about 3 or 4 years ago. They were 132 beats a minute. I mean, I carry my little metronome to check them out, 132. I plenty pace, And you wonder how you can execute. But the fellas execute, the young fellas execute. I can't execute that now. My reflexes.
You see that people, you see what old schoolers do? walk with a metronome to get that understanding of the song and listen to the speed and put it together. Don't just drink and talk. You understand? Yeah, man. The real fast, but I find the music change from being melodic to more rhythmic.
Yeah.
Right? Plenty rhythm, plenty rhythmic phrase. Where that would not have made Bradley would have never used that in any of them nice song, right? Everybody want to do that in Pan and Harmony, right? So and those are classical pieces. Rebecca, classic, big tune. You understand? When they talk, it have big jamming tune in them. It have good tune, but it has some classical pieces. You have to leave that alone. That becomes standard. Pan and Harmony is definitely one in my book.
What?
Right?
I know wicked tune, but anyway.
If that is a wicked tune.
I don't know if it will the pendulum will ever swing back towards more melodic. I don't know where it's going. So it seems to me it's
it's plenty with them and no pretty. There's not no pretty passages, so colorful, but pretty with harmonies and the chords, that could bring that sweetness.
It's no verse and chorus. It's just a collection of the pieces kind of stuck together. So I don't know. I don't know if you call it verse and chorus. It's just phrases stuck under one another. So kind of bridge and thing like that. They're going to so it's just get a little bar. That sounds good, and then you find another one. And you just keep it onto that.
Plenty cut and paste. Plenty cut and paste. All right. So Lawford.
So,
you talk about how you and your brothers used to be up and down the avenue there and sing and they're making a noise, and then too much big people started to come around and sing. But when you did really feel that passion.
When I joined the Stars and that became a kind of a full band, then you really hear the whole thing, And the fact that we were popular, we were getting work outside. I mean, I was a teenager. I was able to go out Saturday night to play with the band. Otherwise, part of it's the way to go, And I never had to ask him for no pocket change. I had money in my pocket. So that helped me mature.
That was good growing up in a steel bag, in a good steel bag.
Exactly. But then there's plenty of money was $2. You're going to play out for the night.
You mean my first envelope from Invaders after I play in Carnival Fest from the Carnival Wednesday till Carnival Sunday. All I spent there, all in holiday in and thing. Play all in the road, play down on the hideaway. How much money would he pay me? And then now going to cover that check. $75. I tell me what we do with all our money, but big money. But all our night do.
Well, if you remember, Pit and Deluxe or in Globe was 27 cents. So when you had $2 in your pocket, you could go and buy sweet drink, you could buy nuts, you could go to Pit, you could go and take a girl for 30 on Sunday, you have money in your pocket.
My grandmother wasn't giving me permission to go and do that. She only gave me permission to go in the panyard. Anything the band going to do, I'm good to go. See, going to other cinema and this making joke, serious. They're not privileged to go all them things. I had privilege to come from school, do my homework, go in the panyard. The whole day, Saturday, Sunday, eat breadfruit. You understand? That was it grew up for me. Strange. I tell people I didn't grow up with all day, I grew up with big men. And they couldn't understand it. It's a whole different game. Right? You can't be rude. You can't be rude because everybody they like father and big uncle. So,
top up. You're lucky if you only get top up. You might get more than that.
You understand?
And also in those days, you see now where you could go in any panyard, right? You go in any panyard, walk in any panyard. Back in the 50s, that you couldn't do that. If I want to go and hear what Invaders doing, I have to get a contact Right now, we had a contact. A fellow used to like us. A fellow by the name of Hermas. He was one of the. He was not prominent Bajan, but he was bad enough to have a little reputation. So he used to come and listen to us in Gadiga Street. And if you want to go up and invite invaders and listen to them, then you have to look out for Hermas outside in the street. If you see him, then you can say, hey, the band's very good, and you might approach the yard a little closer with Hermas. But you can't just go and walk in the yard and say, I want to hear all you playing, or I'll come to hear all you playing. That wasn't possible.
So when I was young, I had a bike. So I am a partner, say we go and send him for roti.
Yeah.
Right? Didn't tell Birdie nothing.
Yeah.
Push your bike all quiet, going down there. So coming back up the road now, he said, let me pass by phase 2. You know what I mean? That the young man swing down by phase 2. He going on a guitar pan one time. I said, boy, what you doing, boy? You understand? All right. Let me go back now. We spend a little while. Let me spend about an hour.
Yeah.
Like before we reach back in Invaders Yard, the news done reach. Them two little boys, La Pierre, and the next one down by phase 2. Birdie called me in the office, face with that high hammer and the tools and the weapons. His weapons. Say, I thought you all went for roti. I say we went here, but we eat it one time. Yeah. But I also was told that you were down my face too. Mm-hmm. Let me know. I started to wonder how that message reach you. Who old man by invaders reach brother side where me run on I no phone. Right? News we say. But anyways, from tomorrow night, he ain't tell the next fella nothing, it's me putting that pressure on him. Right? Because I do La Pierre, sir. Right? So from tomorrow night, you can tell your friend it will have bacon shark, hops and bulgur, bread and cheese, cricks and cheese, green tea, Milo, milk and sugar. You don't have to leave the barnyard no more. We never left the barnyard no more. Right? We stayed in the barnyard, right?
Yeah, things get easy now.
Yeah, things get real easy. Things get too nice. It didn't have no pitch. It didn't have no pitch on the ground on concrete as one stand up and practice.
Remember time when Tony Williams had made the spiderweb pan. Okay, people start talking about this spiderweb pan. So this is Dixieland time. We say, well, we can see what this pan look like because they're talking about it. So we couldn't go up in North Star's panel like that. So Curtis had to go and find somebody, get introduced to Tony Williams, and then you could. I went up with Curtis, because Curtis, myself, Steve, and somebody else went to see what this pan look like, what this spiderweb look like. Yeah. So that is the very early days when he first made it. So what can I tell you?
But that life was something else, and I think it had nothing to do with being a Bajan or nothing, Because what I did is like when your band come into town, if the whole community come in.
Yeah.
You understand? Everybody did. You understand? Not when you come into town, it's just a handful of it. The whole community. That's why Desperados, when they come up the hill, it's the whole 11 till coming down.
Yeah.
That is how it used to be.
That's how it used to be. That's what community support. Now the members of the band come from all over the place now. So you go in these big partners. There are no community anymore.
Phase 2 and nobody playing from Woodbrook.
Yeah.
The only person from Woodbrook playing is Black Allman. Right?
Yeah.
It had nobody from Newtown, Woodbrook playing in phase 2.
That's right.
That's a big band, eh? That's a big band.
That's right.
Right? Renegade has the community all stars. That's the difference of tongue and the environment. Tongue keep the community close.
Yeah.
Right? Phase 2 get too commercial. Phase 2 area is too commercial. You don't have people living in Woodbrook no more.
Exactly.
You understand? That's how it used to be. Everybody in the street play cricket on the pavement. The pavement big, so that is a big wicket.
Yeah.
Right? So all that gone. So bands like Started the struggle along in the whole and the community to
Exactly.
support
No community support them. Exactly.
right? So
Exactly.
when so
And
when
he
so when,
and
so
he
when people
even have
talk
a
in, it doesn't think about these things or see these things or put them down there. Or they put
yeah,
them down there. You put them out of the community.
exactly.
That is not in the community. So
Absolutely.
people who in positions, they don't use the
But
upstairs because there was never part of it. So you could don't
yeah,
know how to plan for it or cater for it. You
yeah.
understand?
But no, but at the same time, I mean, back in the old days, when a band is playing, it's 10, 15 fellas playing small, like the size of the band. Now
Yeah.
it's 80 and 90 people playing. The volume of the bands now is reverberating all through the neighborhood. So a lot of people, I don't know how the people by phase two, for instance, how they survive during the carnival season.
But
You know?
Mr. Haddad, Sullivan
Yeah,
Haddad, mom.
yeah,
Back in the day, phase two didn't have no washroom. So it
yeah.
had ladies in the band. So you had to go and wake up this lady. Well, she used to be up because she was listening to the band practicing. But we was in the
Mm-hmm.
road, right
Right.
next to she wall, right? And it's like the washroom.
Yeah.
Many people don't know that the big face do is what a CD with a hardcore sign or a big yard. No, that
Mm-hmm.
didn't come so.
Mm-hmm. No, no,
That
no,
come
no,
with
no,
no, that didn't come so.
no, no.
Right? That didn't come so.
Yeah.
Right? So if you want to go down by the river and do something, well,
Mm-hmm.
you gotta go home.
Oh.
Right? Go home.
That's
You
right.
gotta leave.
Well, so let
You
me
know,
ask
but
you
those days
something. What you
mm,
see happening, since we're not having carnival next year, what do you think the steel band movement is going to come up with? Because I mean, it will be hard for them not to have some kind of showing of some kind, some performance somewhere that people could enjoy for next year. You know, that'll come up with
well
something.
overall, my concept of thinking was have finally go back to the days and have a traditional carnival. Use the black and red beads we have. We don't want to send Japan and China for beads. You understand? Use the things that we have here and have community carnival, not
Mm-hmm.
national carnival.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't have to leave Arima and come to Port St.
Right, right,
Or you
right,
don't
right.
have to leave, Bacalet, or not Bacalet,
Yeah.
sorry, or you don't have to leave Roxborough to come to
Transfer.
Scarborough.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
understand?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Stay in your community and
And do something.
present something
Prison.
for the volume of people. So we can have small carnivals
Yeah,
around,
that's a good
right?
idea. Yeah.
Right? That is, but we not in Panama card, not in government to come up with that. I don't know. It's square pegs in wrong hole in culture all the time,
Well, you could
right?
talk to Beverly now. She made this deal.
All right, no problem, no
Yeah.
problem. I will do that. I will do that because we in the art form too long, too much hours and time
Mm.
invested, right? So not to have a common understanding how to produce
Yeah.
something cultural during that period. Saying and having no carnival, that is the cheap,
Yeah.
sneaky way out. You understand? That is just out. You just not supporting your own people because your people frustrated, People frustrated, having no outlet to breathe,
Yeah.
right? You could do that. Live back the community, the little village up in Toko Day. You understand? The little
Mm-hmm.
one in Matlot. You understand? They have enough people in the villages to come out and have a good time,
Yeah, yeah,
right?
yeah. Sure, sure,
It's not, you
sure.
understand, we going back to tradition. Let's do it traditionally, right? Have some characters, have some poor calypso, and all right, you can't have no big match, guys, show, right? But you can produce, sing about local things that we experiencing now. You understand? You
Yeah,
can do
yeah.
that. You
And
can
then
do that.
have the bands perform a repertoire, so people will hear. They will only hear one tune, like when they go to Panorama. They go hear maybe five, six, seven tunes.
Yes,
Get a
yes,
repertoire, you know. So it's like,
yes. Right? And we come into your panyard, you have your social distancing thing, but we right, let me capitalize now. We can come to the panyard and your band put on a little thing.
yeah,
We go to another panyard,
wear a mask in the yard
wear your match,
right,
right?
take a drink at the
Right?
side.
Yeah,
So
man.
we will see.
So I hope because she tried and man, we gotta look on the brighter side. She came with her idea to bring the semifinals to Tobago,
Mm-hmm.
it would,
They worked all right.
right?
Yeah.
It would,
Yeah.
right? So it's not because of who she is or how she is or how she get there. It's about what she's doing while there,
Sure.
right? And all we could do is support because that is all we could do. See this going by the corner and talk and bad talk this one and this one. What you doing to make it better? By going by the
Exactly.
corner, it's not
Yeah.
making it better,
Not better, of course.
right?
That applies to everything in life.
Correct,
You
right?
know? So easy to
So
criticize, but hard
so
to do.
easy.
Yeah.
Yes, you because this is one of the reasons why we have players only in fan a la carte, right? The fan a la carte segment is about I playing Tuesdays and Thursdays, but on Wednesdays I decide to do this interview scene as players only because people just only running their mouth up doesn't really genuinely contribute. They come and associate to feed for
Yeah.
prominence. You understand? To get vision, to get visible. People seeing them feel like they're in
Mm-hmm.
something, right?
Mm-hmm.
And these are the lots that get to run and lead and weaken the thing and kill the thing and come up with all kind of outrageous ideas. You
Right.
understand? It doesn't make sense, right? So when something come with sense now, oh God, just back now, support it, right?
Mm-hmm.
What that panorama in Tobago did with Tobago and tourism, right? Yes, we wasn't seeing it that way. We were just seeing carnival,
Mm-hmm.
right?
But
It's nice to know the host it,
tourist?
and they could have
Yeah.
accommodated the bands that came and the
Yeah.
players, right? I didn't hear no bacchanal of anything outrageous, right?
Mm.
Might have
No, no,
hiccups with
no,
fans
no.
getting to the location, might be transport or wherever. The boat had problems, so people get stranded in Trinidad, which is happening to do not with Panchimbigo, right?
Mm-hmm.
The port on them wasn't working.
Yeah, yeah,
The
yeah,
boat on them wasn't working,
yeah.
right? So
But that problem will be solved just now.
yeah, yes, I see one advertised one, but you look in the
Yeah, yeah,
something,
yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, we
all
have
right,
more than enough just now. And people get
yes.
vexed with that too. Eh? They're complaining they had none before, now they have too much now. People vex
Don't
still.
add too
They
much.
still vex.
Yes, it's still good. But we just had to make it better to show that hey, our culture of Trinidad and Tobago, it is strong enough, it is vibrant enough to be respected. I understand.
Yeah.
I
I want to
want
tell you
people in
something.
Trinidad. Yeah,
We have to find ways. You see, because we don't have a tourist traffic to Trinidad, like you would have in up the islands and so on.
yeah.
The exposure of what Trinidad has to offer in terms of steel band is quite limited, right? I have always said that instead of giving a band a cash price for Panorama, why don't we make them? Why don't we put them on tour, for instance? That is one of your prices. So you get some cash, but you go into Russia, you go into China, you go into India, you go into South Africa, wherever it is. So people could see what a full functioning steel band sounds and looks like,
Full,
you know,
full orchestrated
orchestrated,
functioning studio.
you know.
Yes.
And that is how we need to push it out there because you need the tourist traffic, as you well know, to raise your game. If you were living in Trinidad, you're playing from panorama to panorama, you might get a gig here and there in Trinidad, but you're not really stretching yourself out, right? So I think we need to do more on that. The thing that bothers me also is the fact that a lot of people still don't know. The young players in the States, for instance, Canada, which I'm more familiar with, they have no idea where the fan comes from, you know.
Tell me about it.
Yeah. Last
Correct.
year, last year I was in Pickering. I went to see my in-laws up there, and walked out towards the lake, and there's a little steel band, young children and so on, setting up there. So I asked one of the girls. I said, what is this? I'm trying to play ignore drill. She said, well, this is what they call a pan. Yeah. I said, where does it come from? So I don't really know. I just got it to practice with, you know. I said, who gave it to you to practice? She said, that guy over there, he's the manager of the band. But she have no clue where this thing
Mhm.
originated. And she don't care. She knows an instrument that she could play and she have a good time, but she don't care. And the
You
same
see,
thing happening
Lawford,
all over the states, you know.
correct. You see what happened, Lawford? Everybody want to play a song,
Mm-hmm.
right? We don't treat the thing the correct way because when a child born in the States, he know the whole of baseball gloves, he know who is Babe Ruth and Michael Mantle and all that, whoever and thing, right?
Yeah,
In our pan community, it's just to play a song.
yeah,
And nobody no proper time to let them learn and understand the instrument from the point of view to
right,
educate themselves. Not
right,
even to show them the right technique.
right.
Nobody talk technique. Some of
Uh,
the techniques that is exhibited presently back in your days, in the early days, with the sticks with a get felt on the pan.
mm. But
They
I'll
would
tell you
not get
something
felt.
also. On the other side of the coin, I was talking of the same talk to somebody else. He said, well, why should a young person know where the pan come from? They don't know where the violin come from, or the trumpet, or the flutes.
Yeah,
So why you
yeah.
want them to know where the pan come from? They
That is
just
the
play.
ignorance of
They
that the
play.
ignorance of this.
Well,
It is
exactly.
the ignorance.
But
You
at the
understand?
same time, when you buy a trumpet, depending on the price range, you could kind of determine the quality of the instrument because there's a you have a sense that if you're buying an expensive trumpet as opposed to a cheap trumpet, it might sound a little different,
Mm-hmm.
Might not really be true. But we don't have any kind of ways of establishing what are the best fans. Who should I go to get best fan made?
Right? I just try myself to uplift myself that my car when I make, I have a Mercedes Benz class.
There you go.
You understand? I want topper. You
Mm-hmm.
understand? I will support the others, right? But if I come and I see your work, you're not doing the work that I expect of you to see them and hear.
Yeah.
That work
But
you
you
do,
you
you
know
understand?
you know what you want. You
Yeah.
know what you want.
But not
But
everybody gets that. Not
exactly. So
everybody gets that.
if I'm living in Sweden and I want to buy a pan or which is Croatia, I had to go on the internet and look for somebody, but I'm not really sure what I'm going to get there. I know how to pay, but I'm not sure what I'm going to get.
We
Right?
have no border. We are no, that is an opportunity for you as working on the board and standards and bureau to
Yeah, we
emphasis.
work,
We have a
we
quality
working.
control to ship
Yeah,
out instruments here. If they don't meet the standard, the instrument can't go regardless if you have
come,
an order for 10, 12, wherever.
right, right.
Government
But we
have to
do.
step in now to take control of that. Because when some of these tuners send out pan, man, the
Yeah,
pan them reaching the person, not tune, cocky. How you want the person to fix the pan?
exactly.
You understand?
Well, we're doing some work with Professor Imbert and the MIC there. We, as you know, there's a standard on the layout of the pans, the instruments, but particularly the tenors. Not so much on the background pans, but we try to see if we could get some standardization on what they call the school for the school program to get
Yeah.
all of the pans the same way. So
Make
eventually
sure the soprano
that
pants, make sure the soprano pants have fills.
yeah,
That is
everything. So when they come
right.
out of
So
there and they go and then they will carry that knowledge forward and try to push the tuners then into making the pans in a certain way. Because as you know, you go through different bands, note placement is a little bit different for some of the notes. They hang the pan a little differently afterwards, all that kind of stuff.
man,
So
you put on a row of tenor pan, you put on a row of tenor pan, everyone different. Everyone different. Don't always expect the tuner to control that. He had to just brush through that. You understand? But anyways,
all right.
you looking to wrap up. I just want you to say one thing for me. I want you to
Mhm.
tell the youth, get a little bit of advice, right? If they want to be a pianist professionally, what it takes, what it is you have to do, right?
Well,
A tuner,
apart,
whatever in the art form.
apart,
Just
apart from the discipline of applying yourself, of course, to the work, working hard at what you're trying to do. If you're going to be a musician, you have to practice. Expose yourself to as much music as possible. Learn from other people. And most importantly, is the discipline of keeping your word. When you say you're going to show up at 8 o'clock, don't show up at 5 minutes past 8. Show up at 8 o'clock. You know about that, right, Noel?
yeah,
When,
of course,
when,
of
when,
course,
when, when
of
the
course.
man say we starting the show at 8 o'clock, you have to be there past 7.
Well,
In
a
case he
little,
changes
a
his
little,
mind.
a little story. when I first started doing my one man in Trinidad in '95, it wasn't one man. It was I and a bassist and a drum machine.
Yeah.
We now started to do Woodford Cafe.
Mm.
Randy come and ask us to come back the evening this for 7 o'clock a dinner gig. I say fine. I say could come? Yeah, me yes. 6:30. He in
Mm-hmm.
there. 6:45. 7 o'clock I had to start. I all over by the front door. Embarrassed. He walk in 7:20. And then he started tuning bass.
Yeah.
Well boy, I turned beast. That was the end of the year, you know.
Well, is
That's
it?
all my one man. My father tell me, senior tell me, Noel, because he was home. It was kind of like him. Noel, look the cassettes here. Go study that. And these are the things. Because we just had a face. This man ain't showing up, this one, blah, 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 blah. I said, nah, man. I'm going to hire the man again. We
Mm-hmm.
going by the black and white house wrong, around the savannah. He ain't show up.
There you go.
So I jumped in my car and I went to him because I was living Cotton Hill by Cape Park
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
And I got my cassette and I bought it, and the people had a cassette deck player. I put it in the cassette deck and I played and I got paid. I got two musicians money. Nobody asked to cut it, nothing.
Very
Then I
good.
realized, hey,
Yeah.
this game this is where it is.
Is it? But that's what Steve told me too. I asked him the same question. I said, "Why don't you use musician with you?" He said, "I give up on having the big people. They come in late. They're showing up. So you get a drum machine. You get a little
Mm-hmm.
you get a fog, some kind of thing there, a box there,
Yeah,
and that was it. He's done with that.
that was it. That was it. All
So
right.
if you, as a musician, you want to earn your way in the world, you have to be reliable. You have to be reliable. People depend on you. If you can't
All
be
right.
reliable, they'll tune you out.
So I want to compliment Pan a la carte players only program. What do you think about the idea and stuff?
What are you? A great idea. So, but how will you tune into it? I mean, otherwise,
All right. Yes, you have to just go on to Facebook. Yeah, we're gonna put out the links.
I have a
Right?
Facebook.
You're not on Facebook?
You gotta send me an email or
All right.
WhatsApp
I'll send you
message
an email. All
or
right.
WhatsApp.
And you can but you're on YouTube too also, right?
Yeah.
All right, you will see it on YouTube. We have our
All right.
YouTube channel, Fan
Uh,
Group Production. All right. You'll get all the information. All right. So thank you for supporting the number one pan talk show program
all the best.
online platform.
All the best. All the
All
best.
right. Yeah,
Take care.
man. No,
All
but
right.
you wait, hold on. Thank you very much, my friend.
All
Thank you
right.
very
No
much.
problem.
Appreciate you,
Uh,
the support and everything. Bless up the wife and the family. All
She
right.
sends
God
she,
bless.
she
And
sends her she sends her regards, by the way.
all right. Thank you very much. And I got your information from your blue hair sister,
Okay.
Diane. You
All right.
understand? You know, like my mother. All right. So
Yeah.
thank you very much. And and God bless.
All
Right?
right, Noel.
So
Nice
people,
talking to you.
yeah, man.
Take,
Yeah,
take care.
man, still fine. All the time, man. All the time. Stay tuned. Stay tuned. There's more to happen here on the a la carte. Each and every week, we're gonna be doing it
Okay.
nicely. Today we had Lawford Dupres. All right, stay locked all the time. All right. Remember, it's Pan a la carte Tuesday from 12 to 1. Wednesday, players only, 12 to 1. Thursday, your a la carte again, ropes from 12 to 1. God bless each and every one of you. I want to thank my producer, right, Junior La Pierre. I want to thank Pan Group Production, all right, and all my fans and supporters. God bless. See you. Peace. I'm out.